Hi guys, today we're doing a stat breakdown of Sterling vs O'Malley for the Bantamweight title, including striking stats, grappling stats, win methods, and at the end I'll go through how I think each guy gets it done and who gets it done on the day. Firstly, looking at the striking stats, Sean O'Malley has an advantage all across the board, with an 8% advantage in strike accuracy, a 4% advantage in strike defense, and lands 7.43 significant strikes per minute, which is the 6th highest in UFC history. Striking accuracy is important for Sterling, but with a low threshold, since he has 13 wins and 1 loss when he strikes above 40% accuracy, and his 1 win and 2 losses when he strikes below 40%. Since O'Malley's strike defense is above 60%, this could cause issues. Sterling's opponent's strike accuracy has changed very recently. In his first 12 fights, his opponent struck at 28% accuracy, whereas in his last 6 fights, his opponents have struck at 50% accuracy. I don't imagine his defense has gotten worse, he has simply faced better strikers. O'Malley has been remarkably consistent with strike accuracy, and has only struck below 50% once in his career, which was his only career loss to Vera. Therefore, if Sterling can jump on his back and squash his striking accuracy, this will go a long way to winning. Accurate strikers have given O'Malley some issues. His opponents have struck above 50% 4 times. 2 of these aren't important, since Wineland only landed 4 strikes and the Munoz fight ended with an eye poke. In the other 2 fights where his opponents were accurate, he lost to Chito Vera and had a tight split decision versus Petr Yan. Sterling is not a hard-hitting striker, having never landed a knockdown in his UFC career. However, he has landed 2 TKOs from top position. This is definitely possible against O'Malley, since it's the only way O'Malley has lost in the UFC thus far. On the other hand, Sterling can get caught on the feet before landing a takedown, although he did survive 3 of these knockdowns. He came back and won against Mendes, he survived 1 knockdown by Moraes, although the second one flatlined him, and he survived a knockdown from Petr Yan before being illegally kneed. O'Malley, on the other hand, is a killer on the feet, having landed an enormous 7 knockdowns in 11 UFC fights, including Dana White's Contender Series, with a 100% knockout rate in fights that he lands a knockdown in. In addition to this, O'Malley has never been knocked down. Vera did not knock him down per se, but after some calf kicks injured his legs, he fell over after disengaging in a clinch before getting finished. Despite not being hard-hitting, Aljo puts up good striking numbers, only being outstruck once, for which he was knocked out. In addition to this, in the 2 fights he lost via decision, despite winning the striking numbers, he only attempted 1 takedown total, so it seems that Sterling needs takedowns on top of his striking to win decisions. Striking differential is a similar story for O'Malley, who has only been outstruck once, for which he was knocked out. Whilst it may appear that he has had some low strike differentials, that's because he finished the fight in the first round several times. Now, onto the grappling stats. Sterling attempts far more takedowns than O'Malley as expected, although he does have low takedown accuracy, so O'Malley might be able to keep the fight standing for long periods, especially since he has quite solid takedown defense. However, on the ground, as expected, Sterling attempts significantly more submissions per 15 minutes. Takedowns are pivotal to Sterling's style, having landed takedowns in 13 of 18 UFC fights, and he is 5-3 when he attempts 1 takedown or fewer, and he's 10-0 when he attempts 2 takedowns or more. Therefore, threatening O'Malley with takedowns each round is crucial for winning. Despite being a good grappler, Sterling does get taken down, although it does not really matter since he only has 1 loss when taken down, which was a split decision. On the other hand, O'Malley does not go for takedowns, only landing takedowns in 1 fight, and is therefore unlikely to wrestle. On the other hand, O'Malley can be brought down, having been taken down in 4 of 6 fights where his opponent has tried to land a takedown. It's interesting to note, in 2 of 3 fights where he has been taken down, there has been a decision, so takedowns could take the power out of O'Malley's hands. Aljo's greatest strength is control time, having landed 300 seconds of control or more in 33% of his fights, and he also has 3 submissions with low control time, thus finishing the fight before bumping up his control time numbers. Despite this, he still gets controlled himself, having been controlled by 150 seconds or more in 10 UFC fights, although once again it doesn't really matter since he's 3-1 when his opponents are controlled by 300 seconds or more. You need to punish this guy on the feet to beat him. O'Malley, on the other hand, does not land control time, with a max of 55 seconds of control in a single UFC fight, and is therefore so unlikely to hold Sterling down. What makes this fight interesting though, is that O'Malley has been controlled in 2 of 11 fights, despite the fact that he's been taken down in 4 fights. Therefore, he has the ability to get back up after being taken down, which could be the most important part of this fight. Now, let's have a quick look at records, win methods, and loss methods before getting into the predictions. Sterling is 15-3 in the UFC, whereas O'Malley is 9-1-1 in the UFC, including Dana White's Contender Series. Therefore, whilst both fighters have exceptional win-loss ratios, O'Malley has the advantage. But to gauge the quality of their opponents, let's look at the combined opponent win-loss records. Sterling's opponents are 134 wins and 90 losses in the octagon, whereas O'Malley's opponents have barely broken even, with 59 wins and 57 losses. Therefore, Sterling's opponents have a much better win-loss ratio, whereas it seems O'Malley may have padded his stats against bad opponents, although that said, he has handled many of them with ease. On to win methods, Sterling loves to go the distance, with 8 decisions alongside 4 submissions and 3 knockouts, whereas O'Malley rarely sticks around, with 6 knockouts and 3 decision victories. Sterling has been tough to finish in the UFC, with 2 decision losses and 1 knockout loss. Similarly, O'Malley has 1 loss, which was by knockout. To summarise the key tipping points of this fight, Sterling has an exceptional striking defense of 58%, whereas O'Malley's only loss was where he struck under 50%. Therefore, if Sterling keeps O'Malley inaccurate, he could cruise to victory. On the other hand, Sterling has been knocked down 4 times in his career, whereas O'Malley has landed 7 knockdowns in his career with a 100% finish rate in fights where he's landed a knockdown, so if O'Malley lands, it could be all over. And lastly, Sterling has landed takedowns in 13 of 18 fights, and has had 300 seconds or more of control in 5 of those fights, whereas O'Malley has been held down 2 of 4 times when he has been taken down. Therefore, the biggest question of this fight is, will O'Malley get taken down, and if so, can he get back up? Therefore, my prediction for how each guy gets it done. Sterling lands a takedown early, and manages to land large amounts of back control time in several rounds throughout the fight, therefore winning a 49-46 decision. On the other hand, O'Malley must defend the early takedowns, which is possible with Aljo's low takedown accuracy. I think the next key is that O'Malley needs to land a knockdown and engage Sterling on the ground. We saw in the lightweight division, Poirier and Gaethje not engage Charles Oliveira on the ground when they had a chance to land a potential finish after knocking him down. But I think O'Malley needs to land a knockdown early before fatigue removes the power from some of his punches, thus he needs to win a round 2 KO at the latest. If I was to pick a winner for this fight, I would have to go with Aljamain Sterling. He's dealt with taller strikers before with guys like Sandhagen, and shown his ability to hold back control against Yan in his last fight against Petr Yan. Although I was very close to picking O'Malley due to Aljo's low takedown accuracy. But that's the end of this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments, or if there was anything interesting in the stats that surprised you. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things, and I'll catch you next time.